and let's begin. So thank you everyone who's taken the time to join us today. My name is Dennis Schultz. I am the New York lead for Blacks in Technology. Today we're here with Erin Haywood. We're gonna learn about securing the bag for the COVID-19 edition of that. Couple of housekeeping items. I will be sending out an email after this presentation, which will include the worksheet that Erin's going to reference earlier. I'm also going to put that into the chat. So if you don't get it now, you will have an opportunity to receive it in the email. And if you are logged in, I believe I put everybody into mute. So you can ask questions, but we prefer that you use the chat for questions. There's a Q&A button in Zoom for the questions that you might have. Use the chat because we want to make this as interactive as possible. So don't be shy and voice your opinion. It is going to be a dialogue and not a monologue. And also, we are going to be recording. So if you don't want to be part of the recording, let's keep that in mind as we go through the presentation. So before I hand off to Erin, I just want to give you guys a little bit of background about who Erin is and why she's so awesome. So Erin's career as an educator and consultant began grounded in critical thinking about some of the toughest societal issues like diversity and inclusion, accessible education, workforce development. She's committed and passionate about continuing to learn, develop, and collaborate with some of the brightest minds to help her forge a brighter future. With 10 years of experience in various industries such as nonprofit, education, and startup, Erin has partnered with several corporations, including Facebook, KPMG, and Prudential, to diversify their applicant pool by developing solutions for their hiring challenges. Recently, Erin founded Powered by Purpose, an online community and career coaching service for diverse professionals looking to plug into their purpose and level up in their career. She received her MA in counseling from Loyola Marymount University and a BA in liberal arts and science with a minor in Africana studies from San Francisco State University. Her mission is to empower her clients to live authentically by identifying root barriers to their development and success. And with that, I'll hand to you.
All righty, thank you so much, Dennis. And I am so excited to have all of you here. I'm still running on the energy from the previous webinar. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback that folks have found this content to be extremely helpful. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So today we're going to be talking about innovative hacks to securing the bag. Okay, so first I just want to recognize that this time period is super crazy. I don't know about you, but as days are progressing, it seems that things are becoming more and more personal. There's friends of mine who have been tested positive for COVID. I myself was laid off from my job. In addition, people have passed away from this virus. So this pandemic has deeply impacted our community in a lot of ways. And what I'm really hoping to provide to everyone that is listening are some steps and strategies that allow for you to feel like you are in control of some things in our lives that are happening right now, and allow for you to feel like you are able to achieve some of the goals that you've set for yourself. So one of the things we're going to be talking about is how to develop an action plan, whether that means you're on the line because you want to learn how to secure some income, whether you need to secure employment, or you've been thinking about pivoting out of your career. I want to give you an actual plan to help you achieve those goals. The other thing is a lot of us are thinking about having multiple streams of income, but then also there's a community of us that are actually looking for full-time work. And so we need money to come in to be able to sustain our lifestyles. And then lastly, how do we identify which opportunities are still available to us? And then how do we prepare for those opportunities so that way we can secure them? So a little bit about me, as was mentioned in my bio, I'm very passionate about thinking about some of our toughest issues. When it comes to diversity and inclusion, for me personally, I think it's more than a business imperative, that it's my personal mission to dismantle systems and barriers in our communities, because we all deserve to thrive. So for me, this is more of a value and a mission versus that it's a business strategy. And so I've done this work in higher ed. I previously was at UCLA's Career Center, and I was working on tech diversity initiatives, really making sure that all students were aware of the opportunities that were available to them, but then also how to get them prepared for the world of work. And a lot of that's going to be focused on the disruption of tech. The other thing that I'm really passionate about is accessible education. So my master's degree is in school counseling with a PPS credential. Most of my career has focused in the K through 12 space. And so really thinking about how to create inclusive learning environments so folks from different backgrounds, learning abilities, and learning styles can thrive. So that's something I've been very passionate about. And I've done that with different organizations ranging from the Boys and Girls Club to City Year, which is an AmeriCorps program. And also, right now I'm consulting a nonprofit called Beam. Another thing that I'm very passionate about is workforce development. And so as a career coach and a career counselor with over 5 years of experience, one of the things that I realized is that the job that you choose can literally not only change your life, but can leave that legacy for those that are coming behind you. So I'm very passionate about preparing professionals in the workforce, whether that's skill development, industry insights, mentoring, coaching, etc. And so I've done that with several organizations. So my previous job was with JobWell, which is a career development platform for Black, Latinx, and Native American students and professionals. But I've also am a consultant with She Designs, which is a UX UI course for women of color. So my personal story, the first part that comes to mind is being the first. It's crazy to think that in 2020, we're still having the first, right? First Black mayor, first woman in space, first, right? And for me, I think about my personal story, how I come from a strong line of trailblazers, whether that's my grandmother on my mom's side, who didn't go to school until she was 12 years old because she came from sharecroppers, or my grandfather on my father's side, who was a very prominent African-American architect in LA, right? And so just through their own stories, it has motivated me to break ceilings, but also to remove barriers from keeping us from reaching our full potential. So ultimately, my goal is, yes, to empower us to be those trailblazers, but also remove barriers so that we're no longer in need of the firsts. Another thing that I'm very passionate about is how to make multiple streams of income. So as I mentioned, I worked in education. I was literally working paycheck to paycheck. So if you know how I feel, please in the chat box say, amen, I'm there, I'm currently there, I've been there, right? So living paycheck to paycheck was something that I was like, I'm done, I can't do this anymore, I need to figure out a plan. And Money 101 tells us that you either budget and save, or you make more, or you do both. So I chose the route of, I want to do both. I want to budget, but I also want to make money. And so this really led me to start my business, but also is something that I'm always talking to my friends, my clients about, is have you thought about another stream of income versus pouring all your energy into a 9-to-5, where basically you don't own that 9-to-5. You're giving your brilliance, your talent to somebody else and their vision and their goals. Then lastly, you're probably like, what the heck does Terminator have to do with anything? So one, Terminator is one of my favorite movies. Two, Terminator represents kind of how, when I was learning about the disruption of tech, that I related it to the movie Terminator. So when I talk about like machine learning and automation and AI, artificial intelligence, for me, Terminator, the movie, helped me understand those concepts. And so the more that I learned about the disruption of tech, it really put a fire underneath me for me to gain technical skills, exposure to the tech industry, so that way I can be competitive in the workforce, not only now, but in the future. So this is something that I'm super passionate about for future generations. So I remember listening to The Breakfast Club, and Andrew Yang was on there, and he was talking about how basically automation is just going to remove a lot of jobs and it's going to impact communities in various ways. So for instance, Forbes said that automation will definitely impact Black communities with an estimate displacement of 4.6 million individuals. That is crazy. So that really inspired me to leave Los Angeles, my hometown, move across the country to New York to work for a tech startup. So Powered by Purpose is my business, and I'm really excited about it. I actually went through a huge rebrand during COVID-19, and actually because I utilized the time that I have now that I'm unemployed to really build out my brand. And so Powered by Purpose is about coaching diverse professionals and providing them with a community, tools, and one-on-one support, so that way they're able to thrive. And I've been able to do this for the past 3 years, and I've reached over 100 people doing this work. And so my tagline, which is also a question I like to ask my clients, is what are you powered by, right? Are you powered by making impact? Are you powered by helping your family and your community thrive? Are you powered by making memorable experiences? So when I ask this question with clients, we do a range of things, whether that's reflective activities that identify our core values and strengths and passions, or mindfulness practices that allow for us to reflect on how our daily behaviors and thoughts impact us in really deep ways, and setting goals, right? So here are some testimonies that I'm really proud of from my friend John, who has a very successful plumbing business, but really wants to be a professional photographer, and he's been developing his portfolio, and through our coaching, he has landed 3 projects, and we're really working this year on making sure that those projects go through. And then from Crystal, who made a huge pivot from K through 12 work into ed tech. All it took was just pushing her outside of her comfort zone and showing her how to translate her skills into a new industry. So these are just some testimonies, and what I'm really hoping is how I've been able to help my clients, that this content today will be super helpful to all of you. So we're gonna get into the content. Enough about me and my business. So where do I start? This is the question. So before we begin, I want to do a pulse check. I want to see how y'all are feeling. So on a scale to 1 and 5, 1 being like that you're completely depleted, all the way to 5, meaning that you're feeling fired up, I want you to think about how you're feeling about the pandemic, how you're feeling about your current career, how you're feeling physically, and write that number if you feel safe enough and vulnerable enough to do that in the chat box. Go ahead and do that. And Dennis is going to be kind of my reporter because I can't see the comments. So Dennis, go ahead and let me know what people are saying in the chat box.
Yeah, so I'm doing my calculator self now. So I'm going to do rough math and say we're averaging right about a 3.75, maybe. We got 1.5, but mostly we got on the low end, the mean will be 2.5, the high will be 5, average is about 3.5.
3.5. And that's about the same from the last webinar that we had. We had about 40 people online, and that was about this average, which is totally understandable with all the different layers of what we're dealing with. Okay, so the first part of this process for securing income, securing jobs, thinking about pivoting, etc., is actually to acknowledge your feelings. And it's crazy that you're like, Erin, I want to get into the strategies on how to bring money in. I will get to that, but it's so important for us to start here. And so to give you just a little bit of an example, about 3 weeks ago when I got laid off, I only gave myself 1 day to process my feelings, and then I was in go mode. And although that pushed me to be very productive, it didn't allow for me to really process how I was feeling about being laid off. And it ended up manifesting in different ways. So acknowledging our feelings is actually a really good place to start from, because it's a form of mindfulness practice. And research has shown that meditation practices can help with a variety of issues, including substance abuse, trauma, anxiety, and depression. And mindfulness is the act of consciously focusing our mind in the present moment without judgment and without attachment to the moment. And it can allow for us to be more aware of what is going on internally and externally. And so why not practice something that's going to allow for us to feel a lot more productive, a lot more in touch and in tune with what's going on inside. A lot of y'all put 3.5 as our average, right? So there's things that we can be doing to feel a little bit more whole, a little bit more happier, you know, less stress, right? So there's different types of health. A lot of times when we think about health, we only think about physical health, mental health, etc. But there's a lot other layers as well. So we got spiritual health, financial health, environmental health. What's the sanctuary that we're creating right now for ourselves, right? Social health. Are we putting ourselves in a position to do Zoom calls, to do happy hours, to hop on community events like this, to just connect and have that human connection? So one of the things that we have to realize is that each of these factors influence one another. And so really thinking about, hey, if I didn't eat today, I might have low energy. So then I'm not going to want to submit applications. I'm not going to want to hop on the phone with friends to connect. I'm not going to want to think about my budget and, you know, log on to my online bank. It influences one another. So it's really to think about, which of these components have I been focusing my energy on and which have I been neglecting? So go ahead in the chat box, say, you know what, I forgot about environmental health. I haven't created a space within my apartment or my home to be my sanctuary. Or maybe it was social health. I need to do a better job of outreaching to my community. So go ahead, feel free to share your comments there. So after we've done kind of a pulse check, a mental health check, we are going to get into a plan. Okay, a plan means goals, benchmarks, a course of action, something, right? A North Star, we got to go somewhere. We have to have a plan. A Harvard business study revealed some amazing stats. One, that 83% of the population does not have goals. 83%, that's crazy to think. 14% have a plan in mind, but haven't taken the time to write them down. And 3% have goals written down. So just so you know, by setting a plan, setting a course, having goals, puts you ahead of the game, because 83% of the population are not setting goals, right? So to give you a testimony, you know, when I found out that I had to search for a new job, you know, it had a lot of different emotions because I've only been in New York for 7 months. I moved from Los Angeles. Then COVID pandemic was occurring. And now I have to figure out how to secure income and employment all at the same time. Luckily, I had a call with my mentor that night. And when I got on the call and told her what happened, she basically said that she goes, the next morning, I want you to pray and have time with God and just dream big, right? Every single thing that you would want during this season, the types of jobs, the types of company, the money that you need to secure, anything, right? Just dream big and write it down. So that's exactly what I did. So this is mind my handwriting, y'all. No judgment here. This is literally the Post-it board that I have on my wall right now. And I just wrote everything down. I wrote down the types of salary I wanted, the culture, what my long-term career goals were, etc. And when I did this, what I realized was that my mindset was shifting, and that I was shifting my mindset from a lack perspective to an abundant perspective. And that's something that I want you to think about. What has been my mindset about my current situation right now? Am I in a lack state of mind, or am I in an abundant state of mind? So that's something that I want you to think about, and go ahead and share your comments on that. So part of my plan, and I hope that you will consider these components. Maybe you've thought of these already. Hopefully I present something new. One is you gotta be specific. If you just say, I want a job in healthcare, well, what do you want to do in healthcare? Do you want to be a coordinator? Do you want to be a recruiter? Do you want to be a manager, right? So you really want to be specific in every part of this plan. So, you know, definitely thinking about the roles that you want, the industries, the companies. Just a little tidbit. One of the companies that I wrote down on that prayer board is actually the company that I got an interview with. So this stuff really works. Manifestation and prayer really does work. So thinking about culture, but the things that I want to point out that sometimes we don't think about, are career goals. So part of what I ended up doing, I took 2 steps back and said, why the heck did I move out here? Why did I take this last job? Where do I see myself 2 to 3 years out, right? And what I realized was that I wanted to get back into, teaching, and that I wanted to consult. So I knew whatever move that I was going to do next, it needed to give me the experience, the exposure, and the skills to position me to eventually down the road be even a bigger consultant and a professor, right? Another thing that I did was I thought about, well, what is my priority for this season? And what I realized for the longest, one of my top priorities was money, right? I wanted to make more money, have a bigger savings, and cut down my debt. And I realized that although this move to New York got me to another salary bracket, it wasn't really helping me in these other areas of debt reduction and savings. So it opened up my options to relocating again, which is crazy to think, but relocating again, but I'm now open to locations that have a better quality of life and lower cost of living. So that's something I just want you to think about. In addition to literally looking at your budget from what's in my Amazon, what's in my Venmo, what's in my savings, what gift cards do I have? I mean, calculating everything out and figuring out how much you have to sustain yourself if you're unemployed, or how much you have if you want to invest in a business, or if you want to start making goals financially, how much you can save. So these are some things to think about. So what I would love to hear from you in the chat box is there a section that I presented that you maybe didn't think about or didn't invest enough time to think about? I would love to hear if I presented something new to all of you. Okay. So you're like, I imagine that there's going to be a population of folks that are online that have this. But Erin, what if I am currently in a job and prior to COVID, I was thinking about transitioning, but I had no clue what I wanted to transition to, but I know I don't like my job. Or I didn't like my job, I got laid off, and I know I don't want to go back to a job like the one I was doing, right? Or you're just like, I know that I need to get into something, a side business, a side hustle, a passion, but I have no clue what I want to do. So if that's you, here's some things that you can definitely do. One, I really love this graph, but at the end of the day, what it's telling you to do is think about, well, what does the world need? What are the things that I'm passionate about, right? What's my personality like? And so you can definitely take free assessments like 16personalities.com, the Myers-Briggs, which is an assessment I'm certified in, StrengthsFinder, right? You can also conduct what's called informational interviews, talk to professionals in positions that you're interested in and ask them questions. And the reason why this is so important, because at the end of the day, you really want to get to that middle part where you're really in your lane, where you're feeling passionate, engaged, and that you're operating in your purpose. And so according to muse.com, it says that happier people get more done and get it done better than most. In a 2015 study at the University of Warwick, which is in the UK, found that precisely 12% are more productive than the average individual. So long story short, why not invest our energy and put, getting into a new opportunity, a new side hustle, etc., where we're going to be so productive because we're happier and we're more engaged. So I'm going to pause there. Dennis, were there any thoughts or questions that have popped up in the chat box before I move on?
No questions yet, but a lot of positive feedback. So keep going.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, awesome. I love that y'all are tracking with me. So we're moving along. I got a lot of content for y'all. Okay, so step 3, success habit. So the crazy thing is I can't believe that it's been a couple months since Kobe has passed away. That's just how crazy time is right now. But Kobe Bryant represents excellence. He represents an impeccable work ethic. Whether that's us hearing stories about him showing up hours before a game and practicing in the gym, to what I have found so heartwarming. Recently, we found out that he taught himself how to play the piano for his wife to play their favorite song. So Kobe really is showing us that he's a lifelong learner. He has extreme discipline and that he works, hard. But he also is a demonstration of success habits. And remember, habits are repeated behaviors where it almost becomes second nature or unconscious, right? Wouldn't we want to get to a place where we have things going on where we don't even have to think about it? and they're in motion. So one of the questions I want you to think about and share your responses in the chat box is, what habits have you developed during COVID-19? And are those habits for your benefit, or are they deterring you from your goals and your success? So just think about, what are some habits that I have developed during this time? So some success habits that we're going to cover right now are the following, and I'm going to go through each. Developing a schedule, setting intentions, goal setting, showing gratitude, celebrating victories, and being present. So, schedule. Now, for my friends that are on the call, on the webinar, years ago, you would never put Erin and schedule in the same sentence, okay? I have learned how to be more organized and to use different tools to keep myself on track. And so one of the things that you want to think about is that a schedule can present structure and accountability and a system to how you achieve a goal. So this is literally a screenshot of my personal Google Calendar the week that I got laid off. As you notice, not that much stuff on there. And when I would look at this calendar, I would just be like, dang, I got nothing going for me. How am I going to use this time? And so, although I was achieving some things during this week, I was realizing that I wasn't being as productive as possible, because sometimes I can get lost into the weeds and then hours go by, right? So this is literally the week after. And what I decided to do was start to block off time periods for applying to jobs. If I had a side gig going on, I would block off time to do it. Webinars that I was participating in, if I was grabbing virtual coffee with folks that are in my network who had either a lead or insight, I put it on the calendar. And what I ended up feeling was like, I was running my 9-to-5. I'm my own company. I'm my own corporation, right? And it just empowered me by taking this small step. Now, old Erin, if I looked at this would stress the heck out of me, okay? So if you're on this line and you're like, looking at this calendar is stressing me out, I am totally not motivated to do this, then what I would suggest that you do is either do like a weekly goals list and a daily to-do list. So at least that you can look at these, tasks that you need to accomplish and be able to mark off when you're done versus, cramming those tasks into a certain time frame. So that's something you can do if you're like, Erin, the schedule is causing me a headache. Okay. Another success habit is setting intention. Okay. Now, yes, I'm, certified and trained as a counselor, and I don't want you to think that I'm over here doing the kumbaya, hug each other, which is totally up my lane. But I also want to tell you that this is science and that there's literally thousands of research in positive psychology that proves that this is true, okay? So if you don't believe me, go to the information that I've listed in the worksheet and also online. So setting intentions is a way for us to literally set a path for how we want to approach and look at a situation, okay? And so what I really love is that in an article on balance.com, it literally says, if we set positive intentions, every cell within our body will behave in alignment with the intention we have just set and vibrate at the same positive frequency, right? On the contrary, if we're prone to negative thinking and fail to set positive intentions within our lives, our cells will respond by preparing to fight or flight. So just think, if we've gone through something that's scary and traumatic, how it wires our brain to react a certain way to protect ourselves. Imagine if we put all that energy into positive thinking, positive intentions, we're literally rewiring our brain, okay? So the intention that I set, this is literally mine. I have it written on a card. I worked this out with my therapist, y'all. So this is some good stuff. Basically, what I was talking with my therapist about was that I was just having such a hard time accepting where I was. I was like, I can't believe this is happening to me. And basically she said, you need to do more self-acceptance and acceptance of your situation, your environment, and your decisions, etc., and accept where you are, but also be open to change. So this is the intention that I set every single day, that I'm going to accept where I am and I'm going to look and be open to change. So I hope that y'all think of an intention that you want to set for yourself. Goal setting. We already talked about that 84% of y'all don't set goals, okay? So why set goals? Well, let's talk why. In a Harvard Business Review study, it literally said that 14% who have goals are 10 times more successful than those without goals. The 3% with written goals are 3 times more successful than the 14% with unwritten goals. So write your goals down. Have a goal, write it down. And the other part is make your goals smart. So hopefully all of y'all have heard of SMART goals. If not, this is what it means. But at the core of it is are your goals measurable and are they timely? So to just throw it out there, I need to make money, Erin. That's not a SMART goal. I want to make $500 by the 31st. That's a little bit more measurable. We have a time, we have an amount, right? Now you can work backwards and say, how much do I need to make each week to get to my $500 goal, right? I need a job, Erin. A SMART goal would be, I want to submit 10 applications each week. Then you can break that down of how many applications you need to submit each day, et cetera, et cetera. At the core, ambiguous goals equals ambiguous results. So if you want more concrete goals, you need to have concrete goals. If you want concrete results, you need concrete goals, okay? So make sure you are setting SMART goals. Okay, so we went over schedules, we went over intentions, we went over goals. What's next? Gratitude. Here's another one where you're like, oh Lord, here goes Erin talking about gratitude. What does this have to do with, making money? Well, let me tell you, once again, positive psychology. This is science. This is not, social. This is science, y'all. Research. In positive psychology, gratitude is the human way of acknowledging the good things of life. Psychologists have defined gratitude as a positive emotional response that we perceive on giving or receiving a benefit from somebody. So some benefits of being grateful or showing gratitude: it reduces stress, it improves quality of sleep, and builds emotional awareness. This is research. This is what the research has shown. Who on the line wouldn't want better sleep, reduced stress, and better emotional awareness? So why not try it, right? So things that you can do: a gratitude journal. You can work on complimenting yourself, giving yourself praise, right? You can, when somebody has helped you out, sending them emails, thanking them, sending them a thank you card, right? Shouting them out, saying, yo, so-and-so helped me in this way. It's important to show gratitude, not only because it helps to forge meaningful relationships, but also it literally helps us to reduce stress, to build social, emotional awareness, etc. So gratitude is part of this process. Okay. Celebrate the victories. It's pretty straightforward, but according to Psychology Today, praising the accomplishments of a leader or coworker contributes to healthy behavioral patterns that will allow for that person to want to repeat them more often. And so just think about celebration is our form of dopamine, right? It's literally triggering transmitters in our brain, and it has a huge positive effect. So you want to do the same thing. You want to give yourself that pat on the back, that praise, calling a friend, sharing the good news. It's really important. So make sure you're celebrating yourself and the victories during this season of your life. Okay. And then lastly for this section is being present. I love this quote: tomorrow is a mystery, today is a gift. That is why it's called the present. Crazy thing is, I heard this quote in, Kung Fu Panda. Don't hate on me, y'all, but Kung Fu Panda was the one that I was like, what's that quote from Kung Fu Panda? And this is it. So why is being present so important? I don't know about y'all, but I'm more distracted prior to COVID-19. I've noticed that when I'm chatting with somebody, I have my phone in my hand, I'm looking at social media, I have music or the TV going, or I have my laptop up and I'm applying to jobs. And what I'm realizing is that there could be hours that go by and I'm not even looking outside at the window to see how the weather is. That's mind blowing to me of how disconnected and how I'm not living in the present, in the now. So it's super important to do that. And there's tons of benefits. Once again, research shows of being present. And being present is part of mindfulness practice. It allows for us to maintain and enhance physical and mental well-being. It helps bring clarity and focus. increases our attention span, and allows for us to be more in tune with others and have more compassion. Once again, all these amazing benefits, why not try it, right? Why not see how it elevates and levels up our life? So being in the present moment. So I'm going to take a pause right there before we get into the fun stuff around securing income. Dennis, anything, any trends or comments that are coming up in the chat box around items that we just talked about?
No, I think everybody's really just focused in on what you're putting down. I think for me personally, the fact that I need to reevaluate my goals. Sometimes I achieve a goal and then I think that's it and forget to reset. So I'm taking that away.
Thank you. Yeah. And so you hit it on the head. Goals are not, if we don't achieve it in the way that we want, we can always rewrite it, we can revisit, and we can continue with the plan, right? So that's a very valid point that you brought up, Dennis. Okay, so what we're gonna get into is how to make the moolah, the monies. Okay, so in the chat box, if you're looking to make some money and another stream of income, you can type yes, amen, that's me, money, dollar signs, do whatever you need to do, y'all. I just need to know.
You're getting a lot of feedback on that.
Well, let's make money, y'all. Here we go. Because I'm limited on time, I'm gonna only give you these 3 quick tips, okay? Offering a solution, freelance and side hustle, barter, okay? Let's break it down. So, solution oriented. When I was in the situation around how can I make moolah, how can I work towards my goals during this time period? One of the strategies I did was being solution oriented. I'm gonna break this down. The first thing you need to think about is what is a problem or a need right now? And I want you to focus it on COVID-19. What are the needs and problems that companies and organizations are facing right now because of COVID-19? So to give you some examples, I've had a lot of friends that are small business owners that are just oversaturated with emails, with DMs on their social media, and they need help with just organizing their information, communicating to their constituents. So they need an administrative assistant. So that's something that could be of a need. Another thing is companies are making new products to, adapt to what's going on. So whether that's Netflix Party, whether that's an app called House Party that allows for y'all to get online and play games together, organizations are doing this very rapidly to get out new services and products to meet the need of what's going on right now in COVID. So those are other examples that are underneath it. But think about, okay, what's the need? The second part is, what's the solution I can provide, right? And really brainstorm. And I'm going to give you an example of how I did this, right? So what solution can I provide based on the problem and need that's happening? Then thinking about, well, what's the goal that I want to get out of providing the solution? Is it around that I want to position myself in front of a company so that way it becomes a full-time thing? Is it around that I want to make money off of this solution that I'm presenting to people? Is it about brand exposure, etc.? So think about what your goal is in this. Then thinking about who could benefit from my solution. So brainstorming people, organizations, companies, etc., that you feel like could benefit from that solution. Then developing an outreach plan. Am I emailing folks? Am I calling them? Am I hitting them up on social media? Figuring out your plan, right? And then go ahead and do that outreach and follow up. So how did I do this? I'll give you one example. So the need, I was like, okay, a need that's happening right now is folks need training, right? They need training and resources on how to navigate COVID-19, specifically in career, because that's currently the space that I'm in. I'm looking for tons of resources and guidance, right? What's the solution I can provide? I can do a webinar, right? I can do a webinar on the strategies and tools that I use to navigate this time. Goal, what's my goal of doing this? I want to expand my network. I'm still new to New York. I want to meet new people, meet new organizations. I want to put my coaching service brand out there and get more exposure. And then lastly, I want to be of service. I want to put a good energy and yeah, good energy out there and let folks know that I'm here, I'm in community, and I want to help in some way, right? So those were my 3 goals with this. My contacts, I listed contacts down of who could benefit, and there was 2 organizations. One, Blacks in Tech, and I had a friend back in LA who was overseeing the LA and like San Diego chapter. And then I had another friend who I work with and consult with who has a UX UI course for women of color. It's called She Designs Creative Agency. So what I ended up doing, I hit up Elizabeth, said, hey, Elizabeth, can you connect me with your folks in New York? Blah, 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 blah. She connected me to Dennis, and here is the webinar today. So this is the model that y'all can use, and it works, okay? So I want you to say in the chat box, okay, is there a solution or something that you can think of that you feel like could be of assistance to what's happening right now? Okay, so solution oriented is a way to make moolah, okay? It's definitely a pathway. Another is a hustle, right? So this is where we kind of get into freelancing, things of that nature. So one of the things that you can think about is writing down what are the list of skills that I have that I'm an expert in or I'm really good at, right? So just listing all those out. Then thinking about, okay, out of these skills, which are most marketable? Which of these skills would be helpful to an organization, to our person, right? Thinking about, okay, what could I charge for my skill? So doing your research and seeing what do other freelancers or people who offer that service charge. Thinking about how do I get my service out there? Do I need to rebrand my social media? Do I need to create a new Facebook page? Do I need to create a landing page to get the word out, etc., right? And then pushing out that you are offering this service, that you're charging this price point, and then you are following up and acting accordingly. So this is something that you can definitely do. So you're like, Erin, well, what are top skills, right? I don't know, I'm good at this and this, but I don't know if I can charge people for it. Well, I try my best to provide you with some insights and a direction. So I found this online, and so the top freelance skills, especially now with COVID-19, virtual assistant is still up there. So folks needing help with scheduling, managing, organizing, and that's still available. Writing and editing is still huge. Graphic design, web development, spreadsheets. If you know how to make pivot tables and VLOOKUPs, this is your time to shine. Customer service, answering those phones, answering the chat boxes, so that way people are getting the information that they need. Social media marketing, e-commerce, right? That's another way to make money, selling furniture, selling clothes, selling worksheets. Right now I'm developing curriculum for a nonprofit. So you can definitely use your skill sets and market it out for folks to be able to purchase your service. So how do you get the word out? One of the biggest things that keeps people from landing opportunities is that folks don't know that they could go to you for it. So you need to do either a traditional path of marketing, which could be like that you use Fiverr.com, Upwork.com, Freelancer.com, which are sites that you can put your services on and then people can hire you that way. You can develop your own marketing through a landing page, a website, a blog, a Facebook page, etc., to get clients to know, or your network to know, that you're offering up these services. But at the end of the day, word of mouth, right? If people, your friends, your associates who have worked with you trust you and they know that you are a woman, a man of your word, they will put you on. So word of mouth is huge, okay? All right. Another thing that sometimes we don't think about, and my pastor always reminded me that this is an option, is good old bartering, okay? So you can think about, all right, you know what? For the longest, I've been wanting to do social media strategy and marketing, but I have no clue on how to build my followers. But so-and-so, she has tons, or they have tons of followers, but I can't afford to pay them, or I can't afford X, Y, Z. So what you can do is think about, what have you been wanting to accomplish, but you need help, or you were thinking about using a service to help get you to that level, and is there a way you can barter? So to give you an example, I worked with a branding coach. She really helped me rebrand my website, think about my new name, etc. And so I couldn't afford her. I lost my job. I was like, girl, money's tight. And so what we did was I told her that I would refer and bring her new clients. I would promote her on her website, and anytime that she needed a recommendation, I was her girl. Same deal. I worked with a PR coach and she helped me with my storytelling. Same deal, exchange for referrals. I've had other people who have helped me. They've written LinkedIn recommendations. I promoted their services to my community, gift cards, right? I did a resume review, and instead of receiving cash, I needed Amazon for groceries, and they paid me in an Amazon gift card. So this is where you can get really creative and think about ways that you can still receive a service and not necessarily have to pay cash for it. Okay. All right. Any questions or thoughts? Dennis, anything going in there? Questions about how to make the moolah, provide a solution, barter, hustle, and freelance?
Right now, not any questions, but people liking the bartering. So bartering is, you know,
Right, awesome. Yep, bartering works, y'all. And those LinkedIn recommendations, people are like, Erin, you're the first one that recommended. I'm like, if you need these LinkedIn recommendations, I got you. We can barter all day. Let's do this. Okay. So now for folks that are looking to secure a job, right? Whether that means you're unemployed and you're looking for a job, you're in your current job, but you've been thinking about transitioning, what can we do? So 3 things: branding, leverage your network, utilize resources. Let's get into it. All righty. If you have this time, update your resume, update your CV. LinkedIn, if you have not touched your LinkedIn in ages, making sure that your current job is up there, your current title, making sure everything is up to date and looking good. If your headshot is from college, from high school, and you need you need to replace it with that new headshot that you have. If not, get a white wall, have a roommate take you a new LinkedIn headshot. Okay. Social media, once again, if you've been wanting to invest and put your professional brand and make it more cohesive, this is a time for you to update that. Your website, maybe you have a project website and you haven't put your projects on there. Once again, this is a great opportunity. In addition to literally updating your branding materials, this is an opportunity for you to clarify things that will influence your personal brand in the sense of your elevator pitch, right? If you don't know your bigger why, then you're not going to really be able to successfully sell yourself to other people. So really thinking about your why, what would you say in an elevator pitch, what your non-negotiables are, etc. So that's the quick skinny on branding. The other part, which I feel like this has been the hugest part of me being able to land paid gigs and interviews, has been my network. So in the chat box, I want you to answer this question. Who makes up your network, and does your network know that you're looking to make some side income or looking for employment? And a lot of times I would probably say on the average, they kind of do. That's usually the response I get. Well, they kind of know, but if I went to quiz them and say, so-and-so, what is Sheree looking for X, Y, and Z? And they go, well, I know she does this, and they have no clue what industry, whatever. So you really want to have your network be behind you and galvanize behind you to make you reach your goals. So a lot of times when we think about network, we only think about, okay, maybe so-and-so who works for a company, they can tell me if their company's hiring, or they can send me job descriptions when they come across it. That's very limiting. I feel like our network can do so much. So here's some things to think about if you haven't already thought about these things. Beyond identifying if companies are hiring or not, sending you job descriptions, they can definitely connect you with professionals. No lie, my financial advisor, who's also my friend, he said, go to my LinkedIn, write down names of anybody you want to get connected with, and they'll connect you. I sent him 5 names. Out of those 5 names, I connected with 3 of them. Out of those 3, 2 led to a referral, 1 led to an interview. That's a network, y'all. Network works. So connecting to people is huge. Paid gigs, right? By my network knowing about my situation, it got me 3 paid gigs. So once again, it can get you opportunities to pay. Industry insights, having these virtual coffee chats. I was talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, Erin, this company is not going to be hiring until 2021. We were thinking about expanding our department, but now with COVID, we're not bringing anybody on until next year. That's good for me to know, so I'm not wasting and exhausting my energy with that particular organization. The same goes for knowing how fast your industry hires or not. If I wanted to go back into higher ed, just knowing that school's not in service until fall, most likely I would have to go through an interview process, but then also knowing that campus is not going to be onboarded until probably fall. That's a slower process because of that industry versus large corporations in tech and business might have a faster hiring process. These are insights that are gold. You need to know that. Another thing too is referrals versus references. A reference is, yo, Erin, if you need me to write you a letter, say that you're cool, I got you. A referral is if someone works for a company, they're going to go into their database, recommend you for the specific JDs or job descriptions that you sent them. And that goes into the system in a formal way where the recruiter puts more emphasis on internal referrals than folks that apply through online websites. This has happened 2 times where someone has put an internal referral in, and out of that, one has turned into a conversation with a recruiter. So once again, referrals is another way. So what I would really want you to think about in the chat box is, how are you thinking about your network and how they could help you? Were you missing anything? Is there something on this list where you're like, man, I haven't been thinking about my network to help me in this way or this way? So that's what I would love to hear from the group. And thank y'all for being so engaging. I know this is, a webinar, but I love hearing from y'all. Okay. So this is one of my favorite quotes. And my friend Will, he's like, you got to put this in the presentation. So Issa Rae, she was being interviewed, and basically she was like, a lot of times when we think about networking, we want to network with folks that we admire, right? The CEOs, the founders, the directors, etc. But we don't think about the folks that are in the trenches with us, and really thinking about networking with your peers, because you never know, that person who got laid off with you could be the one that started a business and now they're looking to collaborate with you. Or that person that you used to work with and now you transition industries is now the person who's interviewing you. You just never know how your personal network, the folks to the left and right of you, can help you and put you on and collaborate with you. So that's just another reminder for that. So this is an abbreviated version of an email that I sent the day after I got let go. I was so vulnerable, y'all. I sent this to everyone in my email. Everyone, okay? No lie. My friends were like, ooh, you bold. And I literally said in the email something to like this, where basically I said, hey, unfortunately, due to COVID-19, my employment was impacted, and I really would love your support during this time. I listed roles that I wanted, the industry. I gave my updated resume. And I basically also said, if you can't help in, sending me jobs, can you promote my career coaching business? Can you connect me with your network, etc.? And what I found is a couple things. One, you have to make sure that you're very specific around your ask. 2, have your materials ready. So that way people are not emailing or texting you back, send me your resume. What types of jobs are you interested in? Do you have a website? I'm going to answer all that and prepackage it so that way we can make this go quick. So that's one thing. Another thing. I think the other piece as well is, don't pigeonhole your community into only helping one way. If you just say, just let me know what jobs are available, if they don't think of any jobs, they think they're not helpful to you. So think of multiple ways that your community can help. Because I've had friends who've sent me links. I've had friends who promoted my business. I've had friends who said, you need to meet so-and-so, because I gave them a broad range of how they can support me during this time. Another thing, LinkedIn, if you haven't been on it, you need to leverage it. I wish I was trying to find an article, but I was talking with a recruiter. The utilization of LinkedIn has extremely increased because more people are on it right now because they have the time and accessibility to it. So a lot of folks, from recruiters to your peers to leaders, are on this right now, and they're actually available to answer. The response rate for me sending messages on LinkedIn, y'all, have been almost like same day, which is never heard of. Anytime I would outreach to someone, I always had to wait or resend a message. I've gotten a really good responses and response rate on LinkedIn. So the reason why you want to use LinkedIn, it lets you know who your common contacts are. So you can go to your contact and say, oh, how do you know so-and-so who's a recruiter at Google? I would like to meet them, right? Another thing is LinkedIn does this, Google search does this, and a lot of other search engines do this, but doing a saved search for the job filters that you put in is super helpful. Every time I go to bed, I open up my email and look at the recommendations based on my saved search. So that's huge. Another thing is really making sure, once again, I'm really big on pre-packaging things. I put my updated resume on my LinkedIn. I put my updated website. So that way, if someone comes across it, they don't have to dig or contact me to ask me for something. I want it to be set so they can say, after reviewing your resume, I want to bring you in for an interview, versus like, I kind of see some stuff on your site. Can you send me your resume? Like, I don't want to do that. Pre-package, y'all. Pre-package. Okay, we're coming towards the end. I'm going to try to make time for questions. So a lot of recruiters that I've talked to said that if they're still hiring for a role, it will be on their career page. What I've noticed is when I go to LinkedIn or these third-party sites, they're not as updated, and it usually brings me to a dead link, which lets me know that that role has been taken down, versus I've been now going directly to the company's career page, because that will be a better indicator if they're still hiring or not. Another thing is there's tons of articles that let you know what companies are still hiring and haven't been as impacted with COVID-19, from Amazon to Facebook to Zoom to Slack, etc. But there's also amazing resources that lets us know what industries are thriving right now. So the fitness industry, although gyms, physical gyms have closed, online fitness programs and apps are thriving right now. Grocery delivery makes sense. Online education and remote learning, thriving. Remote work. So what I mean by remote work is like Slack, Trello, applications that help with remote work, productivity. They're thriving right now. Entertainment, specifically in gaming, has been huge. And obviously Netflix and Amazon's, the streaming services, a lot of people are utilizing those services right now. Online banking and even trading, Robinhood. My friends are like, we need to get on Robinhood. So these are all things to definitely think about. And of course, there's websites. The one that I recommend right now is candor.com. They're actually tracking it live, and each day they will update it. So go to candor.com for figuring out which companies are actively recruiting or on a freeze. And then all these other websites have similar lists and resources too. So definitely check those out. And I will make sure all of these are in the handout that you'll receive. So my hope is that you feel like you have a plan. And just a quick review, make sure you're checking in with yourself. Think about all the different layers of health and that you're trying to go at it at a holistic approach, making sure your goals are specific, developing a plan and sticking to it, updating your brand, whether that's your resume or LinkedIn, really leaning on your network and identifying and utilizing those free resources that are available to you. So my hope is that you stay ready, that you take control, and that you get creative. And if you need help, I'm here to help you. And, you know, I offer a range of services I have an online boot camp that's going to launch in a couple of weeks, interview prep, resume, LinkedIn strategies, salary negotiation, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm super passionate about helping professionals like you, whether that's my friend Bana, who is feeling stuck in her job that she had for a lot of years and finally took that leap of faith. And now she's a full-time doula, which is amazing, to Will, who is a producer and actor and creative. And because he's a jack of all trades, he felt like he wasn't putting his energy into things in a way that could produce real outcomes. So how we developed a plan to remove some of those barriers to get him to be productive. So please stay connected with me. These are my contact ways to contact me. But I really want to open it up for questions. So sorry for running a little late, but I would love to answer questions at this point.
That was right at an hour, so you were smack on time. If anyone does have questions, there are two ways we can do this. You can either put a question into the chat or the Q&A section, or you can raise your hand and I can allow you to talk. And there was one question that we had prior. It was, how do you know how to charge in a new hustle?
This is going to be the hardest thing because a couple things. Me personally, I come from a background of service, so it was really hard for me to not just do things for free and ask for money. And so what I did was, one, you got to make sure whatever you're providing is of value and of quality. Always being open to feedback, making sure that what you're offering meets the goal of your constituents. So I always do intake forms, feedback forms to make sure I'm always growing, meeting the need of the client. I think, once again, you can go online. If you have friends that are in the same field as you, you can ask, what's a good range? So that way you're not, being intrusive. You could say, what would be a good range for me to charge? So those are some strategies that I use to kind of get to a price point. And to be honest with you, my price point as my business has grown has shifted. In the beginning, I was charging pennies, and my price point is different because my expertise, my clientele, my feedback, everything has gotten better throughout the years. And so I'm charging for the quality and the value that the client is going to receive. So that's my advice for you. And it's trial and error, right? Putting it out there and seeing what's the feedback I'm getting. Am I getting that, oh, this is great price point? Or people are like, I can't afford that. And if you're hearing that across the board, either two things: bring down your price point or figure out who's the target audience that can afford it. And then for the audience that can't, what's another service or product at a lower price point that I can give to them? Me personally, I work on a sliding scale if people can't afford my services. Great question.
We have another couple. This one says, how do I prioritize which hustle or passion project I should begin with? I have an opinion, but I want to hear you.
My first initial thought is go with the one that you know that you are most successful in and that people have already come to you for, right? So because then it's going to be an easy transition because people have already come to you and asked you for that service. So that's one. I think another thing is you got to do a cost analysis, right? For each of the hustles that you want to do, break down, will this cost me money to get this hustle launched? And how much money could this hustle bring in? So you can then say this one hustle, it will cost me more, but it will also bring in more money, versus this one has a lower cost to launch, but it also will have a lower cost, like it won't bring as much in. So really thinking about what your goals are and figuring that out. And then of course, like, what can you launch right now, right? If one of these hustles, you're like, I don't need to launch it, I don't need to invest in anything, I already have worked with people in the past, I can get started with it, then I would say that could be one of the factors to determine which hustle you want to go with or not. Dennis, I want to hear what your thoughts are.
Oh, you said pretty much what I was going to say. Do something that you know very well. Do something that's not going to take you years to develop and launch. And, so it's quality, time, and what was the third one? I can't remember the third one, but you hit all the notes, so I'm right there with
you.
you.
It's like quality, time, and then the cost analysis.
Yes, money, of course.
Yeah, money, yeah.
Funds, how much you make. Okay, next question is share your contact information and a copy of the slides. So I'm going to send out an email post this presentation that's going to have all that information. So you'll be able to get not necessarily a copy of the slides, but a recording of the presentation, as well as Erin's contact information.
And then I think there's one more. It says, what's your best advice on how to brand yourself the correct way? Great question. I think one is there is a science behind branding. So if you haven't done your research, go online and read, listen to podcasts, YouTube, etc., and learn about the strategies and tactics of building a personal brand, and also how your brand will be reflected of your business's brand. There will be similarities and differences depending on it. And so for me, I think the best piece is to do those reflection exercises. What's my why? What am I passionate about? What my strengths are? I think that's a great place to start with. And then thinking about kind of how you want to come off to other people. So a fun exercise that I did with my branding coach was I picked colors that I felt demonstrated my brand, words that I wanted customers to feel when they interacted with my service and my brand, words that I felt came up during feedback. So like, I felt empowered, I felt confident. I had more clarity. I pulled out those words, and then I kind of put images of, how I wanted my services to feel. So I, kind of collaged images from online. And then I worked with my branding coach to kind of come up with a tagline, a slogan, and a cohesive message that describes how I work with people and what's really important to me. So that's the best advice that I would give there. And I'll give you contact if you want to learn about my branding coach. She's fantastic. And she can really help develop it even more.
All right, it looks like we have another one. Can you see that one?
Let me see. Okay. As a woman, I feel like it's hard to find a mentor. Any advice on finding a mentor and initiating mentorship? This is a great question. Okay, couple things. For me, I joined a structured mentorship program. Does the mentorship program cost? Yes, but luckily the mentorship program I'm part of has a sliding scale. So there are structured mentorship programs out there. So what you could potentially do is, mentorship program for women of color in design, mentorship program for women of color in education, professional program, etc. You can literally do that. Another thing you could do is, once again, leverage your network and say, hey fam, like I'm looking for a mentor. If it's in a specific industry, a mentor, what type of mentor you're looking for, and just say, do you have anybody in your network who sounds like they would be a good mentor for me? Or if you have a mentor that wouldn't mind taking on one, taking me on. So that's another thing that you can do as well. For me, I think sometimes with mentorship, you have to be vocal and you have to go after it. I know for me, I've literally gone up to people and said, just so you know, you're my mentor. Blame them. And, in workspace, what I've done is I've asked for time, right? And you really want to be strategic on how you're using that person's time. So a lot of times in the workspace, I grab either an informal coffee, and it's more around who they are, how they got to their career, or I ask for feedback. Hey, I have this presentation, this deck, etc. I would love your advice on it. Do you have a couple minutes, or can you send me feedback via X, Y, and Z? So I think those are some great ways, as well as for, if you can't, like your industry is very niche, and on top of that, there's not that many folks of color, or it's not that diverse, I would say then go with an adjacent industry, or just a mentor who's just killing the game. Because I think a lot of times we want this perfect match of the mentor who's in this industry, who lives here, who has a similar background as me, and we limit ourselves, versus saying this person who's in a completely different industry but has elevated themselves in their career, is great, great leader, and has the time to mentor me. Grab that mentor and hold on to them. So that's some advice that I would say for that.
All right.
I think that's it. Well, thank you all for staying on the line. I know that we went over, but I really hope that you found this presentation to be helpful. We're going to send out a follow-up email that has a feedback form. If you complete this feedback form, you'll be entered into a raffle for a free coaching session with me. In addition, we'll attach the worksheet that will go over a lot of the content that we presented today. And then in addition, Dennis and I are partnering again in May for a Ask Me Anything recruiter panel with some recruiters from top companies. And we want to gather your interests and send you more information as we finalize those plans. So thank you so much. And I hope that y'all outreach to me. The contact information will be in that follow-up email as well. So it makes me really happy that people have already added me on LinkedIn and sent me emails so far. So yeah, I'm really excited.
All right. Thank you, Erin. We really appreciate your time, and thank you everyone for joining. That concludes our presentation. Bye.
Yay. Bye. Thank you.